foggy morning we have here. But today I want to show you guys we have pumped about 1,000,000 gallons of water using this little Harbor Freight water pump with the Predator engine. So I'm going to show you what the 1,000,000 gallons of water looks like from both ends, from the pond we pumped it out of. I'm going to go show you what it looks like in the swamp, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts on these little Harbor Freight pumps. See what you think. So this is what the pond looks like. So if you look over here, this is a good spot to see where that little shelf right there, you can see the old water line. And since I've started pumping, the pond was already down a couple of feet and I've pumped about another foot. And we've got some areas in this pond that are just too shallow. They're growing a lot of algae and such. So I'm actually working to, you can see the excavator over there. I'm working to fix some of the banks. I'm gonna pump it down another foot or so some of these mud flats dry up and we can go get a little bit more dirt out of them. And then we'll just get this pond all shaped up. But anyway, you can see the pond, there's lots of mud bank exposed. We pumped it down. This is a 3-acre pond. I know you can't even hardly see the whole thing because it's so foggy out here this morning. It's like 10 a.m. and it's this foggy. And then you can see our overflow pipe is over there. And so on the pond side, you can see we've pumped, like I said, about a foot. And on a 3-acre pond, you math whizzes can go check my math, but I believe a foot of water out of 3 acres is pretty close to 1,000,000 gallons. Probably not perfect, but I've been pumping about a week and a half out of this pond. And I'm gonna tell you why it's taking me so long to pump that amount of water when we get to talking about this pumping a little bit. But that is what it looks like. And you can see a lot of the algae is kind of sucked up over here because the current sucking it all into this little spot right here. So anyway, that's what a pond looks like when you pump 1,000,000 gallons out of it. But we still have some 12 or 15 foot deep areas in the pond over there, so I'm not worried about our fish or anything by taking. It'll end up being almost 6 feet down by the time we're done pumping. So there's the pump in the pond. I've got 80 feet of hose. You see the water flowing out here. It's got to kind of sheet flow across, I don't know, about 200 feet of this field, 150 feet. It goes down into that area is what we're calling our crawfish pond. The dam is way over there, right past that pile you can barely make out. And the pond overflow is kind of, you can barely see that white spot right there. That's where the pond overflow is. So we're trying to fill this whole area, and I've been pumping for a week, and I pumped about 1,000,000 gallons of water. Now I just cranked it up overnight, so y'all know we've been in a terrible drought. I'm assuming the ground has sucked up a lot of it overnight. But let's go take a look how much water we have in there after pulling a foot of water out of a 3-acre pond and putting it into a 3-acre swamp. So here I am standing in the swamp, and from what I can see, we're starting to make some progress. It seemed like the first 3 or 4 days I pumped, I couldn't get any standing water in the swamp. We have all clay ground, but the ground was just sucking it up as fast as I could pump it. It was just crazy. But now we've gotten to the point where I think that section of the field is pretty well saturated, and the bottom of some of the swamp is starting to get saturated. So I'm starting to get some return on the water I'm pumping. And I'm gonna say I've got about 3/4 of an acre that has standing water. So like I said, this area is about 3 acres. So I got quite a ways to go just to get the whole bottom covered. But I think once the bottom is covered, it's gonna go very fast. Now, luckily, I need to drain the pond anyway, so it's not a total waste of effort. And then when we finally do get a rain, we're gonna be in really good shape because this thing is gonna be full of water at that point, hopefully. So I think we're starting to see some progress, but it is extremely slow because that ground was just so dry when we started off. And what I've noticed is, like I think I showed you guys before, the ground, you know, we had all them big giant cracks in the ground, just sucking up any little moisture we had. But what I've seen is the water is actually traveling underground a little bit in here. So if you look, there'll be spots where, let's see if I can find a spot that does it. Yeah, so like all this ground is dry on the surface, and then you look down in a cow footprint and there's a bunch of moisture in there that the ground water is traveling quite a ways underground. I mean, that's 30 feet it's traveled underground without wetting the surface, and I can see it 6 inches below the surface in a cow pug. So now let me tell you about this pump. Overall, I really like these Harbor Freight pumps. I mean, the value for these pumps is just incredible. They're very inexpensive, they're very reliable. The one negative is at full throttle, these pumps suck some serious gas. So I much prefer to run them at more like half throttle, and you get a lot more gallons of water pumped per tank of gas that you put in these pumps. I wish Harbor Freight would supply a curve to go with these so you could see the fuel consumption versus the total flow rate, because I think it'd be something valuable for somebody like me who's pumping, you know, for weeks at a time with the different projects we take on with our farm. So I think that'd be very helpful, but other than that, I highly recommend these pumps. Like I said, a lot of the Harbor Freight stuff is junk. They're Predator motors, I mean, and they're water pumps. I've used them for probably more than a decade, and I really like them. And this one's brand new, but it's pretty much exactly the same as the older ones I had that got stolen earlier this year. So anyway, I hope this video is helpful for you guys. Give me a like and a comment if you got any questions, and we'll get them answered. And I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks.